Hey everyone, and welcome to Already Cancelled. I am Peter. That is Tara shaking her head at me. We are going to talk about the Twilight Zone, the classic Twilight Zone. This is season 1, episode 20. It is called Elegy. So, full spoilers for the episode as always. Tara's ready for science fiction talk today. She's put glasses on. I think she's sick of me looking like a scientist, and she's like, "Nope, I'm going to be smart too today."
It's my analysis glasses.
It's my analysis glasses. As she reaches over to let the cat in or out.
In.
Okay.
But it won't be long.
It won't be long, yeah. Yes, we've learned this. So yeah, this episode of Twilight Zone is about 3 astronauts who are running out of fuel. They detect an asteroid that may have an atmosphere. I don't know why this show keeps thinking asteroids have atmospheres and but whatever. So they land and
it's not going to be the last one.
They find that it looks like Earth. They get off, there's a farm, there's houses, there's all sorts of things, but everyone who is there is frozen still. No one is moving. So first thing I want to say before we even get to anywhere else in the plot, I want to say 2 things, one of which I'm going to kind of laugh about, and one of which I'm going to say, but fair enough, you did this other thing afterwards that made it more interesting. So when they're on the ship and they're getting ready to land because they're almost out of fuel, they're out of supplies, they have to land and try and do something to survive. And he's like, analyze the atmosphere. And he analyzes it, and it's like identical to Earth's atmosphere. And I'm like, oh, would you believe it? It's identical to Earth's atmosphere. How many places in this show are we going to go where they don't need spacesuits because it just happens to be the right amount of oxygen and nitrogen? Oh, bloody hell. But to his credit, to compare it to I shot an arrow up into the air, because we had that same complaint with that, where it was like really obvious they were on Earth the whole time because it was like, well, it's the exact same as Earth. At least this, after they landed, is like, hey, I don't remember Earth having 2 suns, and then there was 2 suns.
I noticed that too. I was like, oh, I sort of rolled my eyes at the beginning, like, here we go again, and then like, oh, never mind. It is different.
Although that being said, I do have to complain that the 2 suns was kind of irrelevant. Like, it never led to like discovering where they are or anything like that. It was just kind of a point and then never mentioned.
Confirming, don't worry, we're not on Earth again.
Yeah, we're not on Earth. We're not doing the same twist, even though we have 3 astronauts, just like last time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, this is actually in the future though, because they say they're from like 2185 or something like that. It was like,
no, from 1985.
Well, they weren't.
Yeah, they were.
No. No. Later on the episode.
I heard 1985.
Yeah, no, you heard 1985 because that's when the atomic war started.
Oh.
And then they said it took them 200 years to pick up the scraps and rebuild, and they said they're from 21 something. It was like 2180 something. So, did you enjoy the episode, Tara?
No.
Joe was really sad is that I thought I was going to. There was like, the first like 5-10 minutes, I thought, okay, 2 suns, everyone's frozen, this could get really interesting. And then every place it went in the second half, I just didn't like, and didn't like where it went or what it did.
It was so like, this is another bad one, I think. Even in the beginning though, like the first shot with the 3 astronauts on the ship and they're doing the landing, the only thing I like about it is that they use the Star Trek sounds on the bridge, which I always like. But
and before
even watching it, it's like watching a school play production. Like, it was so cheap looking.
but before we go too far, I do want to just acknowledge before the comments correct you that this is pre-Star Trek.
It is, but Star Trek uses the same sound effects.
Oh no, I believe you.
It's done in another episode of the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, I believe you. I'm pointing that out again before someone says, "Oh, but Star Trek came later," because there'll be somewhere in the comments if I don't say that. If I don't point that out.
Yeah, I'm saying it uses Star Trek because Star Trek is more important on the hierarchy of Tara's sci-fi.
That's I don't know, like. It's more important in this episode for sure, but I think there's probably a serious debate about what's more important: Star Trek, the original series,
Third
or
from the
Twilight
Sun
Zone.
also had a spaceship that used the same sound effects, so they use it for this and this episode. I'm sure it comes up again, and then Star Trek's like, you know what? That is a really good sound effect for a bridge of a starship. Let's just use it. So
I did like Third from the Sun a lot more than this episode.
Oh yeah, me too. This one is not. They've got like 3 stereotype characters. There's like the patient leader, the guy who's always mad. Like, I don't know. It's just not very good. It's um
Honestly, I think the biggest problem I had at the start, even though I didn't necessarily dislike it yet, was that it did kind of feel, it felt like it was combining I shot an arrow into the air with the first episode, Where's Everybody Gone? It felt like it was combining
mhm.
those two, and it felt like it had a derivative of previous episodes.
Yeah, I really was interested in why everybody was frozen. I wasn't thrilled with like when they actually just did a still shot, like it was so obvious.
Actually, I want to bring that up because
They also, yeah, they have a still shot of the characters that are moving for
yeah,
some reason at one
yes,
point.
that threw me off so much. So
Me
after
too. I rewound it like 3 times.
after they get off the ship and they're on the farm, they meet this farmer. He's frozen still. They think something wrong with him, so they walk into town. They go across this bridge, and they notice a fisherman down by the water. So one of them runs down to talk to him or try to talk to him, but he's frozen as well. And then there's a shot where it looks up at the two astronauts who are still up on the bridge looking down, and it's a freeze frame shot. And I thought, wait, does that mean they've just frozen and he's now on his own? Like the other two,
Yeah,
like
me too.
um, and all my explanation for this is only that they wanted a shot there of those two looking down, but for some reason something was
They didn't
wrong.
have it.
Well,
Yeah.
well, they must have. But this freeze frame came from somewhere, so they must have had a shot. But I have to imagine that something happened in the shot that made it unusable, like for most of it. So they
They're
took a.
like, well, forget it. Everybody in the show's frozen anyway. Nobody will notice.
Yeah, it was such a cheap little moment, and it really. Because if I was making this episode right and I realized I couldn't have that shot, I would have just not cut to it. I would have just stayed on the other shots. I would
I don't
have.
think it was necessary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would have just stayed away from it. But that
It
was
was so
really weird.
bizarre.
Really, really weird. Um, so it was like the first half of the episode. There's kind of a montage of them going around. At first, they go to the town hall, and there's like again, everyone's frozen, but there's like a mayor who's just been elected at the top of the stairs, and there's like a room full of
Mhm.
people. I did notice one of the people who was meant to be frozen blinking in the background.
I watched him
Yeah,
because he had these like really bug eyes, and I was like, okay, he's gonna blink. This is a long, long take
yeah,
too.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
purpose,
yeah.
it almost like maliciously long takes to test everyone in the background to see how well they can freeze.
Yeah, I felt like they should have had a lot more tight close-ups so they could cut into the close-ups whenever something in the background did, move or. And
Mhm.
I think the thing I was noticing the most though is I noticed that one guy blinking, but a lot of the others there's this natural kind of shakiness that a person has when they're pretending to be perfectly still,
Yeah, yeah.
and I noticed that a lot. I noticed them just kind of
There's a lot
shaking a
of
little bit.
yeah, just a slight wobble.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm not making fun of them because I know it's hard to do, but
It's hard. Yeah, I'm sure.
so
Like you can see people breathing. Yeah, it's what you can do. I mean, I was kind of impressed by a lot of people on how well they could stay like completely still for those long takes.
yeah,
But
no.
still, what a jerk director. Can't
So
go cut a little bit earlier.
So, Mr. Director, are we going to be like doing lots of close-ups and stuff so you can cut res? No, one big wide shot. You're going to be in the shot the entire time. You can't move for a whole
I need
4
all
minutes.
30 of you to stay perfectly still. Nobody blink.
Yeah, there was one or two shots in this though that I did think were actually a bit more. I don't want to say flashy per se, but just a little bit more intricate for Twilight Zone. There was a couple of shots where I liked the shot when they first went to the mayor's like sort of scene. The camera kind of like from a wide shot kind of went in and up to the mayor. It was a nice little bit of movement that I
Yeah,
don't
you're
typically
right.
expect.
I
From,
thought it was a good looking set,
Yeah.
the way that was.
Same with I think later on there's a shot where when they're all drugged where it sort of goes from face to face, and it actually felt again very different to what this kind of shot I expect on Twilight Zone so far. It felt a bit more cinematic the way it was sort of moving face to face. It's just really just these like 2 or 3 little specific moments I'm thinking of, but they did stick out to me, so I'll give them the props for a little bit of direction there. So there's a little montage of them, like they're all in different places. One's in like a hotel, and there's like a romantic dinner happening. Again, they're all frozen. One guy goes to where did the other guys go to? I can't remember. that was the one that stuck out to was the romantic dinner in the hotel. But they basically just go to different locations. So, but no, the one guy, because this is the important one where we go to the ad break on. I think it was the hothead. goes into what's like, it's like a beauty pageant, and there's like a crowd, and
Oh yeah.
there's like 5 or 6 women on stage, and it felt a bit creepy because he was just walking on the stage, looking all them up and down, just being like, uh-huh, mm-hmm,
I
yeah,
know.
yep, those are boobs, yes, yes, yes. You have boobs too. Oh, everyone has boobs. Great. And then he like sort of like jokingly kind of like, flirts with the winner. And says she's the most beautiful and whatever, but he kind of just freaks out and demands, "Why is no one talking? Why is no one moving?" And he storms out the room. But as he storms out, there's one old man who actually turns around and just sort of chuckles to himself. And the music that plays every time he like does something
It is
chuckly,
so like slapstick, jovial music. I don't understand it.
yeah, it's the little like piccolo or flute or whatever it is that's doing a little hijinksy kind of noise. If Connor was here, he could tell me what the instrument was, but it just, yeah. So that's where we got the ad break on, and then in the second half, they encounter him because they're looking at houses and they're basically just going to pick a house to move into because they can, since everyone's frozen.
Yeah.
And they sort of jokingly say to the guy who's frozen holding the newspaper on the porch, "Hey, do you mind if we go in and take a look around?" But it's this old guy that we saw move before, so he actually puts the paper down and goes, "I don't mind at all. Go on, on you go." And they all kind of freak out, and then he slowly explains to them where they are, why things are the way they are. Before we get into that, though, actually, I want to go back to the first half because there was a scene of them speculating themselves that I think is worth mentioning. Because one of them was actually honestly far more interesting than anything that happens in this episode.
What was that?
The cool-headed guy theorizes that they are actually all moving. They're just going so slow that to them they look
That's
still.
what I thought this was going to be. Yeah. When he mentioned that, I was just like, oh yeah, they're just on a planet that has like a different
speed.
speed.
Yeah, yeah.
And so they're all going so fast.
And I thought, that actually sounds really interesting. Like how do they like age? Like do we like jump ahead in time because they're waiting for like some of the characters to achieve something? But by the time they do it, they're already like all in their 60s or something because they've been waiting so long for it to get to that point. I don't know. I love the idea of them actually growing old and dying in one of the, like they take a house, and because it's like people who are at the beauty pageant or the mayor's thing, the house is empty for the rest of their lives. So they grow old and die in the house, and then in the speed that these people are moving at, they eventually come home and there's just these 3 dead guys in the house. I could have been into that plot. That could have been a fun little one.
Yeah, I honestly thought that's where it was going. Because I sort of had thought about that, and then when one of the characters, I think like their captain or leader or whatever, brings it up, then it's like, yeah, maybe that's what this is. But then, no, everything we get is so bizarre.
Yeah. Yeah, so the old man, he's kind of dancing around it. He slips this casual reference that made me think of Westworld, because he says that, oh, the guy who this house was built for, turned out he wanted to, fight dragons or whatever. So he's over in the fantasy section.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, is this like Westworld? There's like different worlds, and he even mentions
Right.
a Wild
I thought
West.
of that too.
Yeah.
Except everybody's totally still, so what would be the point?
Yeah. And they keep asking questions, and it eventually says, "Oh, this is a cemetery. This is people who have died who have came here. Everyone here is just like." So I'm like, because my big question is like, well, if they're dead and that's why they're standing still and they're being preserved and they're just standing there, I'm like, are they actually experiencing any of this? Like, is there a point to them standing here doing this?
No, I don't know. I don't think so. Like, it seems dumb. Like, so people from this other place that happens to be a lot like Earth come to this planet to die. And he's like an android or something that asks them what is their favorite moment or what do they wish they always had. And that's how he preserves them in this like menagerie. But it's not like but that's it. Like that's all it is.
Can I ask a question, Tara? And I want you to be honest with me.
What?
Do you only know how to use the word menagerie because there's an episode of Star Trek called The Menagerie?
Yes.
I see through.
A menagerie, a cage.
Because
I know what it is.
It's like,
but like,
I'm pretty sure I learned that word from Star Trek. I'm pretty sure I was never a user of the word menagerie before then.
No, like, because it's like museums use it too, or like places that use like natural history museums that have what's the word I'm looking for? Taxidermy and such.
Hmm.
Have you ever been into one? No,
No,
they all have them by different menageries, and that's I think where I learned it from, other than Star Trek.
no, I've been in history museums, but I don't recall that word. But I mean, it's entirely possible it was on a sign or something, and I just didn't read it.
Yeah. Okay.
But like, certainly. But anyway, so yeah, now he explains this, and he brings him out all drinks. He's like, "I'm going to make you spot a lunch. Here's some drinks first," and of course, by the time they get to the end of the scene, like they all start dying. He's drugged them all because they're here, so they can't be alive. So they're all
That's where
dying.
people go to die. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of a dark ending. I actually had laughed at one point. The hot-headed guy. It was just when they finally say they're from Earth or whatever, and he's like, "Oh, Earth. Oh, now I understand." And the hot-headed guy goes, "Oh, that's great. We don't." Oh, I think like there's so many ideas in this episode, and it picks the ones that aren't as into like the one that it actually picks is really weird. This afterlife idea is like so much less
Yeah.
interesting than all of these science fiction-y explanations that we could have had.
And it seemed like it was trying to do something else because they kept bringing up nuclear war and how
Mm-hmm.
mankind has moved beyond that now. And like also they said, I don't know, it like zooms in on the android's face at one point and says like where he's like, so long as there is man, there will never be peace. Like, ooh, that's dark, but like what does that have to do with this?
Yeah, do you know what it feels like? It feels like it's undercooked in what it's doing, right? So it doesn't feel like it's fleshed out enough. But at the same time, it's also got so many damn ingredients. It's like you were making a soup and you put in like 50 ingredients, but don't actually cook it properly. And this is what you
Yeah.
get at the end. There's just so much things that are just kind of there, and soggy.
There's no salt.
There's no salt. Well, I feel like I'm being pretty salty right now, so there is salt in a way, but yeah. It's a rough episode. Like I really wanted to like it. I got excited by the two suns. I got excited by theories of time moving differently. Those were like the interesting concepts to me.
Yeah.
And then it went down
Even the
this.
Westworld part is kind of interesting, but then it
Yeah, I was less interested in the Westworld thing, but it was more interested in just this is a cemetery. Like, who sends people here? Like, because it's almost like an implication like people pay to come here after death. Like this is like, you know, they sign up for it and be like, you know.
yeah, like people there are really young, like so they have to volunteer to die or
And have they kind of like time traveled or something like, or is this like place based? Because the android does say that this place is based in 1950s or 60s Earth, right? This is like a desirable place, which it means that the people who come here, if it's not Earth directly, you know, it's something that these astronauts just didn't know about because it wasn't that common knowledge. Or if it's a different planet, then they're obviously aware of Earth and their culture, or our culture, I should say, because they want Earth periods of history in their weird
yeah.
museum afterlife that they want to spend their time in.
Yeah, it doesn't it's so incoherent.
Did Zack Snyder write this? No, I didn't. It was Charles Beaumont, who I think has written some good episodes. So I won't throw about the
I'm
bus.
sure that's true.
I
This one, yeah, this one's just not for me.
Nah, it was a weak episode. So yeah, he leaves them preserved in their ship because they all said they want to be in their ship going home. So he's got them in their ship set, and they're all just frozen still. And I like how Rod Serling came in and was like, they all had a dream, and that dream came true, but only in the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, he didn't really have a whole lot to say.
No, he didn't. I did kind of like the start of the opening one though, where he's like, the date, the day after tomorrow. like, like he's trying his hard to make it sound interesting. He really is, really trying. So the preview for next episode at the end, he didn't even talk about the plot. He admitted that he was shit at writing women characters, and
He
said
said that I have been accused of not being able to write good roles for women or something, which makes me think, oh, somehow he knew the internet existed back then, and
What's interesting though is looking at the credits. There's no other writer credited. I think he was talking about the actress. I took his pitch as there's a woman co-writing this with me. Is that what you thought?
didn't he have a female writer before? Haven't we brought that
Oh
up?
no, there was one. Yeah, we talked about it,
Yeah.
but I took what he was.
No, I heard him say that he's been accused of not being able to write women. So this one is about a woman that he wrote, right?
Well, no, I think the phrasing he used was, so next week I'm joined by Vera Miles, who's the actress in it. But I took his sentence to mean I am joined by Vera Miles to write this so that so that it's not a shit woman character. That's how I read what he was saying. Clearly I was mistaken.
He's just accepting the challenge. Apparently this one, works for some people like Jordan Peele.
Really? So you're familiar with this one?
Yeah, because of a recent film.
Okay. I didn't remember this one off the top of my head. I'm going to read the description here. Maybe
Isn't this the one that inspired us?
I mean, yeah,
Jordan
I assume that's what you meant when you said that, but I didn't know an episode inspired us. I wasn't aware that was.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, well, it's called Mirror Image, which again, if you've seen us, makes some sense. While waiting in a bus station, Millicent Barnes. Millicent? What's her name is Millicent?
It's a 50s name.
Millicent. Is that what Millie's always short for? Am I learning something here?
I actually have no idea. It's not a name that gets used very much anymore.
Yeah, news to me. Millicent Barnes has this
name.
strange feeling that her doppelganger is trying to take over her life. Okay, all right. Should be interesting. Should be interesting. I couldn't help but notice though. There's 2 episodes left on the Blu-ray disc that I'm on, and I couldn't help but notice that the one after the next one is a very famous episode.
Yes. I know.
Yeah, it might be on a certain.
I know which one it is.
I
saw it on the app.
Yeah, a certain street might be involved. So no, I'm excited for that. I'm excited to check out Mirror Image though, because I mean, his pitch didn't do much for me because there was like nothing to do with the plot. It was just I've been accused.
I'm gonna write a woman, and you're gonna like it.
Yes. And to be fair though, it was something that I was noticing in the first almost all the episodes we've had. Like, other than The Hitchhiker, was there any episodes where the main character was a woman?
Yeah, the 16mm Shrine.
You're right. Okay, there was one early on. Okay, that's 2. So out of 20 episodes, we've got 2.
Yeah, that's basically it, I guess.
Yeah, I was noticing it was
there's always a
wife.
wife. Almost always.
Well, there wasn't a wife in this episode.
Almost always.
Almost always.
I'm sure that mayor had a wife.
Can we at least have her have at least one line of dialogue before we count her as being a character? Is that too much to ask?
She was the one that really did well at not blinking.
Okay, quite right. She did a good job at not blinking. That's all we have to praise for a character. So anyway, Mirror Image is the next episode of Twilight Zone. So hopefully you'll join us for that. You there in your living room and us here in the Twilight Zone. That's what he said at the end. I was just repeating what Rod Serling said. Fun episode. You can of course support everything we do at MailFuzz TV and keep all the shows coming, all these reviews coming. How can you do that, Tara?
You can check out our Patreon website at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. You can donate as little as $1 per month, just $1, and it'll get you these Twilight Zone episodes a week early, so you can check that out.
Absolutely. You also get bonus episodes of other things we do and all sorts of things. We also just set up a new email address for people to use if they want to ask us questions for the shows. Just make sure you put the show that you're asking the question for in the subject, and remember to sign your name on it. But the email address is mftvquestions@gmail.com. And I am going to be cruel to Tara and ask her to repeat that in most things going forward. But I thought since this is literally the first time I've ever brought it up. The email address. What was the email address I just said?
You're going to give me more stuff to do?
Oh, yeah.
MFTV questions at gangstermail.com.
Gangstermail.com.
G always stands for gangsta.
Unless it stands for
There's
gonorrhea.
nothing. No. That's not gangster at all.
What if it's just someone's name? What if it's like G Perkins?
Unit? It's still G Unit is still gangsta.
All right, okay. I'm apparently, I mean, Tara's older than me, but apparently I'm learning how the kids speak these
Respect your elders.
days. Yes, you can get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to check out other content that we do, specifically me and Tara, we do have a sci-fi movie show that we do every week called The Atomic Cinema Experiment and the Ace. That goes up weekly. You could check out that. We recently did movies such as Primer and The Terminator and some other things. So go and check out all those episodes. There's some fun
Rocket
episodes.
Man. We mean some other things. Some other masterpieces.
Yes, we did an episode on Rocket Man. You can go check that out. So go have a look see. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys, and the Twilight Zone.